what the hell name am I going to use? They kicked it around a few seconds and then looked down the street. At the base of 57th Street, there was the Bermuda Furness tour lines.
And being close to those cruise lines, he took the name Bermuda. That's how Bermuda got its name.
Bermuda this, Bermuda that, Bermuda the other thing. But fundamentally, that was the name and is our name right now.
Basically, it was a one-girl office at that time. There wasn't any other help in the office. And basically, except there weren't any computers. This was the old manual bookkeeping system.
During the 1940s, the automobile permanently changed the way people lived. People were relying more and more on automobiles to get to and from the city. During World War II, business boomed. After the war, however, Americans slid behind the wheel in record numbers. In the 1950s, for many, a set of wheels seemed to guarantee the American dream. The house in the suburbs, the family outing, the freedom to come and go as you please. Nearly 50 million cars were on the road.
The 50s weren't that easy. The money cash flow was difficult. You're going to laugh because the price was $4.50 an hour.
My father, who was graduated from the 6th grade, his name was Dominic Wagner. When he started to go out with my mother, and she, being American born, said, "No way will I marry a foreigner. You've got to change your name." So in doing so, he changed it from Wagner to Verdi.
Mr. Dominic Verdi was almost like my father. I mean, I couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, that was it, you know. I would do anything for that man, anything.
He was a straight-laced, tough Italian.
Mr. Dominic Verdi was the real West Side, rough and tough. I used to tell him, you know, you look like Edward G. Robinson, or if we would put a cigar in your mouth, right?
But then again, growing up the way he did, he would have to be.
And we also had Mrs. Verdi, Mrs. Lillian Verdi.
He grew up in the Italian section, and woe be gone if you weren't an Italian kid and you went down that neighborhood, you wouldn't come back out.
One summer, the help that I had was unable to come to work, and she came and worked the summer vacation and never left. And Lillian was the type of person that when people hear you say, "Oh, your boss's wife works for the company also," you couldn't find a better person. I really miss her.
Fate shapes the birth of an idea: a mechanic, an unemployed World War II veteran, and one luxury vehicle.
A customer who was an old lady, millionaire, who had a Buick Super, brand new, and an elderly chauffeur. She used the car whenever this guy told my father to bring it down. Well, he ends up dying. Now, at the same time, my uncle was drafted in the Navy. He too was an old age draftee, and finally after 45 days they decided who the hell needs him, and they discharged him. But meanwhile he was in, and meanwhile he was looking for a job, because jobs were not plentiful in those days. Yes, they were in the end of World War II, but not in the beginning of the war. So he was looking for a job, and the chauffeur died. So my father made an arrangement with this old lady to give her service and her car, and she would pay off the storage. Well, I remember that car because I learned to drive on it, and it was a beauty.
This was the home of Bermuda Limousine from 1980 through 2010.
The interior of this garage, it looked like a dungeon. I don't know how else to say it.
It was the building my family owned, which was sold in 2010. It housed 60 vehicles and approximately 75 chauffeurs. We were able to wash and service our vehicles here. Right behind me, this wooden framework was the ramp. We had a 3-floor building. Now it's an art gallery. The area was very accessible to the financial district as well as the West Side piers because we're at 20th Street and 12th Avenue, as well as Times Square where we developed accounts with TV production companies.
In the first couple of decades, chauffeured vehicles were mainly utilized for leisure transportation, an evening at the theater, dinner in the city with friends, and weddings. That changed in the late 60s, with more corporate executives using chauffeur transportation for corporate roadshows, meetings, events, and airport transfers.
A lot of the clientele that we serviced were like the old rich society. We had more of that in those days. The elderly women that went to matinees and things like that.
When I first started here, we were busy with the ladies at lunch. We used to pick them up at their houses and penthouses and, take them for lunch with their hats and gloves and have their martinis and go shopping at Burgos, Goodman's and Bloomingdale's. And jaunt all over the place and take them home, and then we'd do the evening rush hour crowd home, and then at night we used to do a lot of entertaining.
After all, it wasn't that long ago that the limousine industry was dominated by Lincoln Town cars, both sedans and stretch limos. Today, it is a mismatch of everything under the automotive sun, from family sedans to luxury vehicles as expensive as a house.
The real horse of our business and most limousine business is the Lincoln. Up till this year, or last year, we had the town car that really took over the industry. Now we have the MKT. I think that the MKT is adapted for more of a younger generation. Basically we get a 50-50 response on it from our clients because some are young and some aren't. But as far as the general purpose vehicle, I think it's well adapted for our industry. It's an all-wheel drive vehicle. As far as the ride, it's a little bit different than the town car, but it's a workhorse.
Stretch limousines, when I first got to Bermuda, we had 30 of them. That's not the type of vehicle that is demanded today. Today it's sedans and SUVs, basically.
As a family-operated business, Bermuda Limousine carefully selected its staff for long-term employment.
I think a lot of people like to come to work and see a family there, or at least see a boss there, or have known the boss's father or grandfather. I think that makes a difference in the employees that you can hire and the employees that you can keep for 20 plus years.
Recently, Bermuda relocated to a new facility, and Bob and Peter Verdi spent quite a considerable time and amount of money developing the facility, not only to house our vehicles and dispatch and general office and billing office, but a comfortable area for our chauffeurs.
I think there's very much a one-on-one between the employee and with ownership. And it's been like that for as long as I can remember. I'm here 25, 26 years. My father 40 plus. And I think that it's just a human interaction.
Bermuda Limousine never closes because of the dedication and insight of the owners, the managers, the employees, and most of all the chauffeurs.
Understanding that its chauffeurs were the first point of contact, Bermuda Limousine developed the industry's first chauffeur training program to ensure all chauffeurs delivered the best client experience.
We try and emphasize our chauffeur, how they look, the uniform, their service, because without them, we would have no business. Anyone, like I said earlier, anyone could have a car.
I don't even think there's a lock on the garage door.
How the individual handles the situation is entirely up to the individual.
We drive some of the most important people in the world. And they understand that, we are there to protect them and help them and get them to the destination on time.
Take, for instance, a short order cook. Well, he can find a hole in the wall and make it the finest restaurant in the city. Or he can find a hole in the wall and keep it as a hole in the wall.
The company, over 72 years old now, has a bright future ahead of us.
The opportunities are in New York City.
There's a lot of competition out there. A lot of competition. But I'll put any of our guys up against any other companies day or night.
In an era where chauffeur transportation is fading, Bermuda Limousine continues to increase and expand in every aspect because they are used for reasons other than transportation.